Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Top 3 most painful torture methods. Number 3. The breaking wheel. This medieval torture device, the victim was tied to a large rotating wheel. While the wheel spins you around, people on opposite sides swing giant iron hammers. This gruesome display is usually considered entertainment for the townfolk to gather and watch the torture. Number 2. The Iron Maiden. Associated predominantly with the Inquisition, the Iron Maiden was a coffin-like device that was lined on the inside with spikes near the face and abdomen of the body. The victim would be placed inside the chamber and the executioner would close the door behind him. Number 1. The Blood Eagle. The Vikings would use this torture ritual, in which the victims were kept alive while their backs were sliced open at the ribs. The lungs and the intestines could be pulled out in the shape of the bloody wings. It's said the pain of your ribs impaling your lungs feels like scalding iron bars, while your intestines feel as if they've been doused in acid, burning from the inside and out. 3 meals before execution. Part 2. Number 3. Ronnie Lee Gardner. Gardner ordered a steak, lobster tail, apple pie with vanilla ice cream, and a 7-Up. Totally normal, right? He also asked for Lord of the Rings trilogy, which the guards accepted. He watched it and read Divine Justice over 48 hours before his execution. Number 2. Peter J. Manel. With a huge meal request of 20 beef tacos, 20 beef enchiladas, 2 double cheeseburgers, a jalapeno pizza, fried chicken, spaghetti, fruitcake, half a chocolate cake, and half a vanilla cake, cookies and cream ice cream, 2 Cokes, 2 Pepsis, 2 root beers, and 2 glasses of orange juice. He didn't even finish half of it. Number 1. Ricky Ray Rector. He was reportedly arrested for shooting 2 people, one a police officer. He asked for a steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and a slice of pecan pie. The strange part comes after the meal. Rector left the pecan pie, telling the guards he was saving it for later. Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Jeffrey Dahmer. A deep dive. Convicted serial killer and sex offender, Jeffrey Dahmer murdered 17 boys between 1978 and 1991. Over the course of more than 13 years, Dahmer sought out men, mostly African American, at gay bars, malls, and bus stops. He lured them in with promises of money and favors, and gave them alcohol laced with substances before strangling them to death. He would then engage in lewd acts on the corpses before dismembering them and disposing of them, often keeping their skulls as souvenirs. He almost always took photos of his victims at various stages in the dying process, so he can recollect each act afterward and relive the experience. Even in prison, he was known to shape his food into body parts, spread ketchup all over him as if they were blood, which ultimately led to his demise, suffering head injuries from another prisoner that was creeped out by his weird actions. The weird thing was, Jeffrey was a normal kid, until he had a head injury himself. After that, he was never the same. Canada's dark secret. If you live in Canada, you have access to great healthcare and are genuinely safe, have a good education system, anyone can be proud to be from there. Unless you're Native. Murdered and missing Indigenous women. Indigenous women and girls face a murder rate 6 times the national average. The government has claimed to solve the problem of targeted abduction and murder of people native to Canada. Canada will only admit to a small number of Indigenous women have been abducted, but advocacy groups have the real number at almost 4 times that amount. In 2015, the government claimed to fix relations with the Indigenous women, but have delayed it and not even completed it to this day. Canada is a great place to live, unless you're Native. Then you have the highest chances of being found wrapped in plastic in the bottom of the Red River, victim to the secret Canadian genocide. Top 3 most hated countries. Number 3, Canada. I'm gonna be frankly honest with you here. I just don't like you, Canada. Number 2, India. We've begged and pleaded a million times, but they still haven't gotten their Wi-Fi cut off. They're known for videos like this. And this. This has to be stopped. Also, they have way too many people. That's just uncomfortable. Number 1. United States. Where the proudest, loudest, fattest, most misinformed, segregated, gun-toting idiots come from. They think the entire globe surrounds around them and their desires. The real home of the bottom of the barrel wasteland, mind-controlled, super medicated whack jobs. Oh yeah, and they have Florida. That's disgusting. Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Top 3 pilots' last words caught on the black box.
Here we go. Stop flying! Stop motherfucking flying! Shit over here! Shit!
Западе. Контроль высоты горизонт.
Photos before disaster. Number 3. The Omagh bombing. The red car in this photo contained a bomb that killed 29 people and injured 220 others. The man and the child both survived, but sadly, the photographer of the photo didn't. Still, more than 20 years after, no one's been convicted of this crime. Number 2. 14-year-old Keith Sapsford hid in the wheel of a flight leaving Sydney towards Japan. John Gilpson, an amateur photographer, was testing his new camera lens and unwittingly caught Keith Sapsford's 200-foot plunge to death. You could only imagine how terrified this 14-year-old would be. Number 1. The last image of the Uruguayan Flight 571. It crashed in the Andes on October 13th, 1972. It took so long to find the wreckage because the reported area was wrong initially. 27 out of the 45 people survived the initial crash. Survivors were then eventually forced to cannibalize the dead to stay alive. 16 people were rescued 72 days later. Tomorrow isn't always promised. Top 3 Forgotten Tik Tokers. Part 7. Number 1. Christian Oliveras. In 2017, his helicopter leg video was one of the most liked and shared videos on social media. If you don't know him for that, you probably know him from this. Admitted, after you saw those 2 videos, you forgot all about him. Number 2. Katja Gleason. Known for having the best camera on TikTok, she used to pop up on everyone's feed. If you were an OG, you know exactly who this is. She would hit 2 to 8 million likes easily in early 2019. But ever since 2020 started, she's been living in the back of people's minds instead of on the For You page. Number 1. Flighthouse. Call this an all OG video because if you haven't been here for a while, you might not even know who this is. They used to make almost every single trending sound on this app. They still even have more followers than
Jacob Sabatocious.
But now they struggle to get even 1 million views. If past their prime was an account, Flighthouse would be their grandparents. Declassified government documents. Part 1. In 1986, the US Challenger flight took off on its data satellite mission. On board were 7 astronauts. After liftoff, its right rocket booster failed, causing a traumatic turn of events. When the Space Shuttle Challenger was destroyed, it was reported that all 7 astronauts were killed instantly. It was revealed decades later that some, if not all, of the astronauts survived the initial explosion, as the cockpit cabin had enough protection to not be breached. For almost 3 minutes, they were awake and aware as they plummeted towards the Atlantic Ocean. Understandably, NASA knew that this news of their terrifying death would have crippled the space program, even more than it already was. There was evidence to support the crew was still running procedures even long after imminent danger. They didn't die accepting their fate. They died astronauts. That's something to be admired. Top 3 Forgotten Tik Tokers. Part 8. Number 1. Christian Collins. This may unlock some deep memories because he was one of the biggest accounts from 2015 to 2017. After transitioning to his music career, this app took a back seat, making his account drift into obscurity. He's deleted a ton of videos, but if you miss him, good news. He's back, but looks a bit different. Number 2. Jiffpom. The most famous animal on this app with over 20 million followers. 2 million views used to be the bottom line for this pup. But as pet pages started to become less trendy, Jiff suffered, and now can only expect around 100,000 views a post. One of the worst follow to view ratios on the app. Number 1. Realwoahvicky. During the big TikTok boom of 2019, she soared to over 2 million followers quickly. But towards the end of 2019, her hype started to die down, and as so went her views. Stay relevant, my friends. Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Top 3 most painful torture methods. Number 3. The Brazen Bull. A hollowed out bronze bull with a door on its side. The victim was locked inside and a fire was set underneath it, heating the metal until the victim was roasted from the inside. The bull was constructed in a way that the victim's scream would sound like a bull was crying for help. Number 2. Disruption Dismemberment. Each of the victim's arms and legs were tied to a horse, walking opposite ways, slow at first, then quickly, tearing at the joints, leaving the victim to bleed out. Number 1. The Tub. The victim is placed in a wooden barrel with only his head sticking out. Their face was smothered with a mix of milk and honey. They were then forced to eat what was left on their face, giving them bad diarrhea. In turn, that would attract maggots that would eat their bottom half slowly from their infected wounds. This has been known as one of the most painful and long torture methods.